Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Sara Brandstätter. I'm a data privacy and security reporter at the news outlet MLex in Brussels and will be moderating a very exciting panel at the PrivacyRules conference in Paris on November 18. Today here with me is Michela Ferrari, who will be speaking at the panel next Monday. She's a senior counsel for privacy and data protection at Mastercard and has a background as a lawyer linguist at the Court of Justice. She's an expert on data privacy questions within the EU, but also beyond that. So I'm very happy that you're here with me today. Hi.
Thank you, Sara. I'm very happy to be here as well.
And today we're going to tease a bit our panel for Monday, and we're going to talk about privacy-related challenges for global businesses and how to deal with those. At the moment, companies operating within the EU need to navigate a very complex landscape of laws that also interact with each other. That means that they need clear guidance from authorities. Employees need to expand their knowledge on those topics constantly. We have the GDPR, the Digital Services Act, the Digital Markets Act, the AI Act, cybersecurity laws, and also in the upcoming term of the new EU Commission, there will be something like a Digital Fairness Act covering consumer questions. So I'm now interested in your point of view, Michela. What are the most pressing challenges you are facing at the moment at Mastercard?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. I would say that as of today, there's no boring day in the privacy world because there's a lot of things coming up. But if I have to narrow down the challenges, I would say, first of all, the navigation of regulatory uncertainty when it comes to all the new data related regulation that entered into force or that will be entering into force in the next years. Especially in Europe, we are seeing a lot of new regulation relating data practices. And this is something that should be taken into consideration by all companies at all sizes. You were naming just a few. And another big challenge, I would say, it's important for companies to implement an effective risk-based approach, especially via the creation and also the maintenance of risk management procedures, because there's no black and white when it comes to GDPR compliance, and the risk-based approach is literally vital for the success of a privacy governance program. And as another challenge, I would say it's the ongoing internal training and education of employees on data protection matters, especially when it comes to privacy by design and data responsibility.
Thanks so much for explaining that. So thinking about these three big challenges, you just mentioned the training of employees. What knowledge is lacking there at the moment, and what kind of training is needed for them?
Yes, so just like as an intro, I think that privacy is still like, and I mean, the GDPR is still a new legislation. We can consider still it relatively new. Sometimes the legal and privacy resources within companies are small. So it's very important that the whole workforce is as the instrument in order to spot and help the wider company with privacy and privacy compliance. I think that it's important first to have like an ongoing training of employees regarding what data protection is, what GDPR is, what processing of personal information means. But it's also important to train employees on data related matters such as AI, biometrics, data engineering, because at the end of the day, it's important that everybody has the opportunity to spot the challenges when it comes to data practices. And I think it's also important in order to keep the training and keep the education alive within the company to have a strong collaboration between the business and the privacy professionals. So it's important that there's a close collaboration. It's important that we as privacy professionals are seeing as allies within the other departments, so they can come to us and they can get our help and support in order to tackle any privacy matter that may arise.
And would you say that is already working well, or is it a process that's still ongoing?
I would say that this is definitely an ongoing process. Again, as I was saying, like in my personal view, I still consider the GDPR as a relatively new legislation. So there's still a lot to be done. There's still a lot of education internally that needs to be done, especially for teams that are far away from the legal world, you know. So it's really crucial to have the privacy team, the legal teams, the compliance team working together with the product teams, marketing, engineering, data science. So step by step and day by day, there's like a better education, and like the process can keep on going, and there's more awareness on what privacy and data protection is.
Thanks so much for the insights. You've also mentioned as one of the big challenges the regulatory uncertainty. So how do you think that could be managed better by companies? What do they need?
Yeah, I mean, this is a $1 million question. And of course, there's no magic formula. But I think that there are like few actions that can be taken in order to solve or like minimize the uncertainty coming from all the new regulations coming up. And it's important for me that business invest in resources in order to undertake this action. So first of all, it's important that the legal and the privacy teams have the space and the time to resource and understand the interplay between the GDPR and all the data related and all the data protection regulation with all the new regulations coming up, understanding the overlaps, what's the burden, how the burdens can be minimized, etc. Secondly, I think it's important to establish an ongoing regulatory monitoring internally, and also to establish processes for regulatory change management. And these processes needs to be regularly reviewed and enhanced in order to address the always increasing complexities of all the regulations coming up. And also, this is important to have an holistic views on what's going on outside on the regulatory world. Another point that I think it's very important is the collaboration with stakeholders, meaning engaging with policymakers, engaging with regulators, sharing expertise with other companies, highlighting best practices. This is very important because business can have a say in refining the legal framework and can contribute to the elaboration of more practical guidelines from the regulators. I understand that for SMEs, this can be more difficult compared to bigger companies, but on the other side, companies can join association, can make them voice heard through association, and this is a very crucial point, I think. And third, an example of what we are doing at Mastercard is that we are adopting a principle-based approach that anticipate regulation. In fact, we have data and tech responsibility. We have data and tech responsibility principles, which include not only like security, privacy, transparency, accountability, but also includes fairness, inclusion, social impact, innovation. And these principles really guides our data practices when we are like developing and enhancing new products and solutions. And like that, you can be better prepared for the new regulation. For example, we didn't wait for the UAI Act to enter into force, but we established an AI governance back in 2019. So we were already getting up to speed to what was coming next.
So also being proactive about it,
exactly.
And then working with the specific guidelines. I'm afraid we're already at the end of our podcast today. Thanks so much for these interesting insights. And if you want to hear more about this topic, join us at the PrivacyRules conference next Monday, November 18 in Paris. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks, Michela, for your time.
Thank you, Sara.